Welcome to episode 2 of Over the Wall. We are talking about the first weekend and what happened and kind of stuff leading up to opening day and overall. Um, I'm excited. Baseball's back. Uh, didn't start the season I wanted, but I will remind myself that we lost 3 straight to the Orioles
Yeah.
last year. So to be 2 and
Could be
3,
worse. Could be worse.
2 and 3 as we're recording this, it will be up Wednesday, April 13th, tomorrow. 2 and 3, I'll take it. Against the Yankees against their home, I'll take that any day. We chased their starters out. Their bullpen is as good as it always has been. Our offense just went silent after the third inning.
It also helps that the right field bleacher is about 200 feet from home plate.
Yeah. That joke of a ballpark. We always get called the joke of the ballpark with that giant green monster, but let me tell you, it takes a little bit more oomph to get out than that Giancarlo Stanton or DJ LeMahieu home run.
Mhm.
I'll stand by that. Again, we are an unbiased podcast, I promise. We're very heavy about Sox. But overall season for us starting out, I'm not too upset. I'm happy. I'll be honest, our offense looks not great, but if that's the one area to struggle with right now and it's not our pitching,
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's our offense will come. Our pitching, if it stays where it's at, I love where our chances.
It's much easier to recover from poor hitting than poor pitching.
Yeah, and I'll say before I move on from Red Sox, Big Dick Jake Diekman, 3 straight strikeouts of those mammoths at the plate, those giant things. Stanton, right now, I would walk the guy instead.
And ESPN forced Michael K and A-Rod to watch all of it, and that's the best part.
That's my favorite part. What a terrible podcast! How dare you? Terrible show that you think you are Manning and Manning. Those two.
Yeah, I mean, of all
every
the people in baseball to try to replicate Manning and Manning with, you choose Michael K and you choose Alex Rodriguez.
Like, I don't know. Why isn't Mike Piazza and another baseball player that actually played the game and people liked doing a pot that would be the better cast. You take 2 Yankees and put them on there to talk about every Sunday night game.
Give me Ozzie Guillen and Terry Francona or something. Get me 2 managers in there.
I can't wait for the Pirates and Reds to be one of the Sunday nights, and those 2 have to sit there for 3.5 hours. It's going to be great.
They're not going to put those 2 guys on there.
Scully, just real quick, weekend had good, happy baseball's back.
Oh, our long national nightmare is over. I mean, a month ago, I thought we were going to have to sit through a whole summer of Premier League lacrosse and WNBA. And as much as I like watching both of those, I can't watch them for a whole season.
Yeah, absolutely. So just before I start, my opening day was kind of ruined overall because I had to watch it wasn't ruined, I shouldn't say. The Red Sox game was rained out, of course. I had to watch Cubs and Brewers, which was a shock to me that Corbin Burns was able to be hit around. But before we talk about that full in depth, we'll talk about some news that broke right before. Some happened on opening day, some happened a little bit after opening day, but they all happened around the time. First one I want to talk about, we talked about on our podcast, that this guy next to me it wasn't happening. And then it happened.
Rays management hate me. I swear to God.
Austin Meadows is now a Tiger, which screwed both of us, basically. You said he wasn't. I said the Tigers weren't going to be that great. I think adding a bat like Austin Meadows is a massive upgrade in that organization. Their pitching's still in question, but at that point, I just always feel like if you trade with the Rays, you're the idiots. Because they know something that we don't know. Like when the Yankees pulled that little deal before the season started between the things, that guy will come back, win a decision game against the Rays. He'll pitch in that game. He'll give up the runs, and the Rays will win. And it will be like the ultimate trump card from the Rays. I just don't trust the Rays to trading partners.
The old Mike Rossell. Mike Brossow strikes again.
Yeah, Austin Meadows I think he's under league control for a little bit, isn't he? Like,
I want to say he's got a couple years left on his deal.
Couple years, not met the 6 requirement at this point. What are your thoughts on the trade?
Look, I think from a standpoint for the Tigers, this is something that really solidifies them in the American League race in terms of wild cards. I still think the White Sox are still far away the best team in that division. I think when all is said and done, they'll be, if the whole roster doesn't end up going on the injured list, which we might be headed that direction at this point, even just with the first weekend in the books, they'll be at the top of the rankings. But yeah, this is a good get for the Tigers. Austin Meadows is a great bat that you can put in the middle of your lineup, and he'll probably hit 250, 260 for you. He's not going to be extraordinary, but he's going to get the job done in certain situations. And for a team like the Tigers, a team that is trying to end the rebuild right now, this feels like one of those final little pieces that they make to complete the full turnaround from rebuild to contention. Now, a lot of what happens for them this season is going to hinge on the pitching. If young arms like Casey Mize and Matt Manning can really be consistent throughout the entire season, it'll hinge on that. But I think in terms of their batting, I think their lineup is going to be very, very proficient, and with Meadows in there, they'll get an extra boost.
I think the Tigers are more in question right now is their bullpen, because like the same guy, I can't think of his name. He pitched against us today. He pitched against us back-to-back days. He came back out and he was not even close to the same pitcher. Like, it was nuts, night and day. But
no, that's mainly on AJ Hinch for bringing that guy out twice in 2 days.
I did check. Meadows is not eligible for free agency till 2025. So they got 3 years of control.
3 years left. And that's incredible for the Tigers.
And again, what I've always said before you talk about it anymore, I don't believe in anything that happens opening day means a hill of beans at all. Opening weekend, everybody's figuring themselves out. Like, I don't think any champions are born on this first weekend, but to land that before the season starts, if he meshes, they're already mashing right now. The team is hitting really good. Like, as I've just watched the last 2 games, it flew by the first game until that Baez home run, but today's game, they came out strong. Miggy is just such a fun player to still watch. He is just a flipping practical joker. It's great to watch. But I think under the leadership of Miguel, that young core is going to do really well.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of that Nationals team a few years ago under Ryan Zimmerman. Not saying that Tigers are going to win the World Series this year, but they have a lot of the young pieces required to potentially make a deep run next year or the year after under the leadership of a guy like Miggy.
Yeah, and who did the Rays get in regards to Meadows? Do you know anything about the guy?
Don't remember.
Infielder Isaac.
Oh, they got Paredes.
Paredes and a draft pick, which I didn't know was tradable. But it was
Paredes was a guy in the Tiger system who just could not find his way onto the roster, who just could not find his way onto the starting roster, being blocked by a lot of the other infielders that they have, especially with the acquisition of Baez, making it much harder for him to keep a consistent spot on the Tiger roster. So definitely a good get in return for the Rays. He's got a lot of upside for him. So who knows? He might be the next Brett Phillips or the next Mike Brossow for the Rays. Hell, he might even hit a walk-off 3-run home run in the playoffs against some team and end their season, because that's kind of the Rays' MO at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, the Tigers did get a bat. He hit 234 last season, 27 home runs, and a career high 106 RBIs. That's a lot to give up. That's crazy to me, but again, they know more than we do. Again, unless those sacrifices have stopped paying off. The next one will kind of happen, I think, opening day. I think it happened opening day. It's Chris Paddock goes to – who did he go to?
He went to Minnesota.
Minnesota. Which we knew something had to happen. He was in the rumor talk for all along, and they had so many. They have so many starters, so they technically couldn't go any further with what they got. So,
yeah, I mean, I think Paddock's a guy who his MLB debut was definitely he was hyped up a few years ago, but now that they have Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, those are three quality starting pitchers that can get you all the way through a postseason. Plus some other young guys coming up from the minors who are going to be added to that. So Paddock was just being pushed out. I mean, he had a 5.07 ERA last season, 7-7. I mean, like he's just very much a guy who, on his best night, he can be great. On his worst night, he looks like the worst pitcher you've ever seen. But they get in return Taylor Rogers. They got another left-hander in return, all-star last season. They got Brett Rooker in as well. But Rogers was the main guy, and Pagan also goes to Minnesota. So an interesting trade. Interesting that Minnesota, and again, this seems like such a fringe move for a team that's already living on the fringe. A team like Minnesota that feels like they're just towing that line between wanting to contend but also building for the future. It's so weird like I can't really wrap my head around a lot of the moves that they're making, but who knows? Maybe Paddock will find a way into the rotation and have like a career rebirth. But we'll see.
yeah, the Twins just are like a really weird team. Set to win last year, didn't win last year, and now they got Correa, so they're trying to put something together on the field. I just don't think there's just too many people in the way to make any moves. Like it's kind of like the season. Like I understand, kind of like the Reds and everybody else is like giving up on baseball at this point because like with the Dodgers over there and the AL East and where it's at, like do I really have the resources right now to be able to beat those teams? Not really. I'm just gonna, but the Twins are like, well, let's go for it.
I mean, it feels like that they looked at the division they're in and be like, all right, we're confident we can beat Cleveland. We know Kansas City's a year away. We know Detroit's probably a year away. So why not contend right now and snag a wild card spot? Like that frame of mind is so like that definitely feels like what their frame of mind is, because it feels like they're looking to contend this year, and then next year, if they don't do well, they can get rid of Correa, send him somewhere else, not pick up his options, and then cut all the kind of all the veteran cap that they have on that team, and then start fresh with the guys that they have. That kind of feels like what the mindset is right now, which is interesting because they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to contend and then quickly go back into a rebuild to contend a year later.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally with you. Again, didn't think it was that big of a trade overall, but still, they had to move somebody. They moved
after all the hype around a Paddock trade. This is what comes of it.
Yeah, it's a pretty minor thing. This one I texted you right away about. I thought was insane. Brian Hayes, young guy, giving up basically. You don't ever see somebody like signing into the 30s almost, like past their 30s, because that's where the prime real estate is. Once they get past that point, it's not going to be great for them on the other side of it. I tweeted out the first inning where he went down with a wrist injury. He is back. He's not injured. It was just something sore. He is injury prone, so that's a good thing. At least he got his bag, but he got it for $8 million a year, basically. It's kind of like the Ozzy Albies the deal and Ronald Acuna Jr. I don't know how these studs like sign such BS contracts almost. But overall thoughts.
Yeah, this is something that I thought actually would be a bigger deal after the lockout, because for because I think one of the big issues for the MLB Players Association in the lockout was, we want players to be paid their fair share. We don't want, veterans being skimped out on deals because they're in their 30s. We don't want young guys being skimped out on deals because they're so young and they're going to be under control. But it feels like not enough emphasis was placed on that. And when I first saw this extension, I'm like, oh, is Brian Hayes an Atlanta Brave now? Because this feels exactly like a move that Alex Anthopoulos down here in Atlanta would make. Because he got Albies to that deal, Acuna to a similar deal, but with a little bit more per year. Both are now locked in, deep into their primes. This Hayes deal is even worse. He's locked in probably past his prime. So I don't know what the Pirates marketing team, what they were like. Bravo, congratulations! You were able to lock down the guy who was probably going to be one of the faces of your franchise for the next several years. Congratulations, you did it. You better have a good 5-year plan to get back to the playoffs. Otherwise, in about 4 or 5 years, this guy's going to be breathing down your neck wondering, hey, why aren't we contending? You signed me to a long-term deal. Now, at least with Albies and Acuna, they have a World Series ring to flash in everybody's faces. And also a division title every year since those extensions. Pirates are in nowhere near that mark at the moment. So I'm not surprised this happened. Don't be surprised if O'Neal Cruz does a similar thing after his breakout rookie season this season or maybe next year. But if this is the new trend that we're going to see with a lot of young players coming into the league or right before they hit that breakout point, it's going to get really interesting when all these newer young guys start coming up. We're going to have to look at the kinds of deals that Bobby Witt's going to sign in the future, Julio Rodriguez is going to sign in the future, Torkelson, Rushman, all those guys. So
I think it matters.
This is just the start of interesting trend.
I think it matters who their agent is too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't see a Boris kind of client sign something like this.
No, Scott Boras will just tell him, hey, take a 1-year deal with 2 option years so that next year I can get all the money when you sign somewhere else. That's what he'll do.
But Brian Hayes, I think that's interesting overall. I guess I'm just in the idea people have Google and can see how long the Pirates have been bad versus how long they've been good. It's the same thing with Chris Bryant. It's the same thing. Why do you want to play for losers? Overall,
I mean, here's the thing. The Pirates' biggest contribution in baseball in the last 50 years has been yelling at Johnny Cueto in a wild card game. That's been their biggest contribution to the game. That and being shut out by Jake Arrieta at home. Those are the only 2 prop points.
It just makes no sense to me why people want to play for teams like that. I'm not saying you have to sign with all the big market teams, but even a team that's closer, or wait until free agency and then making your decision. You could the Royals have been better in recent years than the
because
Pirates
they have owners and they have management that are willing to take things slow, do things the right way, and build a consistent roster of quality players rather than just jumping to the end of the page like a Texas or a Cincinnati. And then all of a sudden, when they don't start winning, you be like what Phil Castellini said today on the radio show, The Red Zone, or be like, fans, where are you going to go? Yeah, we're losing, but what are your suggestions? Where are you going to go? You're not going to find a different team. Our best move, honestly, is to pack up and move someplace else. So be careful what you wish for. You get owners like that who have no idea how to do anything but make money, and then when they don't do that, you have things like this being carried out. So
yeah, what a stupid thing to say. Overall, what a stupid.
I feel sorry for Reds fans. If you're a Cincinnati Reds fan, hug a Cincinnati Reds fan today because they're going through.
If you want to be everybody just wants to be a baseball, wants their team to do well, and the ownership's deal with it. This one, I can talk about this one. I'm pretty excited about this. We extended Garrett Whitlock. The Red Sox extended Garrett Whitlock. I've been waiting for the Red Sox to do this for a long time. Not Garrett Whitlock. I'm just saying any young player ever. Like, we waited all the way for Mookie. I understand what happened with him. Now we're fighting with Devers and Bogarts right now. But to just get this at a great deal too, again, he could have a down year and not be the same person. If it's anything like this season, I like where we're going. I overall like where we're going. He gave one home run, I think, to DJ LeMahieu over the weekend. Today, he pitched 4 shutout innings and got he got a win today. He's extending out his, how long he can go, which is so exciting for me. He's one of my favorite players to watch. We got him for $18 million over the last 4, and then we have club options on him the next 2 years after that. Entering his free agent years, which I flippin' love overall. And I think the way the younger players are doing these extensions at this point is because they want to get the pennant money now. They're going to fight league minimum or lower in money, $1 million, $2 million. Now they can actually get some actual cash growing in their thing and then chest it later. I think Whitlock is one of those players that's going to, or like any player that was a Rule 5 guy that caught on, is kind of like the loyalist person in the world that you can get to because he was at the end of his rope, not going to go anywhere, and we pulled him out of the Yankees. Thank you. And grabbed him a third-round draft pick, and then ended up grabbing him. And now, I mean, he was our best bullpen arm last year, no question about it. And this year, still proving the dominance of what he has, his pitch mix. He pitched 4 innings against a potent Tigers offense today and only went 40 pitches. Like, talking about efficiency. Like, that's the as efficient you can get it. Also, thank you, Grossman, for not realizing where that ball was when it was a pop-up to the catcher or third baseman, and you took off like it was hit to the wall. Crazy to me. But, no, I'm super excited for Gert Whitlock. Happy for him because I bet, when you were going to be out of the league soon or a double-A guy for the rest of your life, and now you're a big league player. Thoughts on Whitlock's extension?
I think relievers in general are such precious gems in terms of like the player they are because their window of being great is the smallest of any position in baseball, essentially. I mean, you look at a guy like Andrew Miller. Everybody remembers Andrew Miller from like 2016 to like 2018, or maybe a little bit lower than that. He was phenomenal, and now he just retired. It's 2022. We're 4 years removed from his best years as a player, and now he's.
Yeah. You may have just frozen on me. That'd be interesting for everybody. But
I cut out right.
Yeah, you're good. Right. You back? Yeah.
But when you get a guy like Gert Whitlock to commit for at least 4 more years, fantastic. Because you've at least solidified one guy, one arm in your bullpen to go to go through his window of contention.
Like I said before, in Heim we trust. At this point in time, it's not been the prettiest offseason. It's not been the best put together. Trevor Story's been battling some illness right now, so we haven't even really seen Trevor Story in the field besides the first 2 days. So really excited for this season. The last thing we'll talk about before we take it, and this could fit into the weekend recap, but we're just going to talk about it now because if you're watching this now on Wednesday, on Tuesday, this man had 2 bombs. Dude's I'm just saying, I am not a Cubs fan. I don't have 2 teams. I never will have 2 teams. I'm a Red Sox fan, but I'm overall baseball enthusiast. This was the one guy I wanted in the offseason. If you would have asked me any player who I wanted anybody for my team to sign, it was San Suzuki. For the simple fact is, it was cheaper. It was a cheap option. can play the field, and the numbers that he showed in Japan can translate to our game. I don't think they always say like, oh, it's slower and stuff like that. I get it, but their breaking balls, they can smash the hell out of breaking balls, and they just need to catch up to the fastball. That's what ends up happening. But you can't talk like there have been great Japanese baseball players that have transitioned over and made a career out of him. He is now proving he is one of them. It's early. He could still have a fall year, but his enthusiasm, how he's taking that Cubs team, I watched him, basically his approach against Corbin Burns, which arguably is one of the best pitchers in the National League, and how he was able to like figure it out and not like look like an idiot up there. That's what it is. And then he took the Pirates. Again, it is the Pirates, but he homered in the first 2 games. So I think that's impressive. You went to school in Chicago, correct? And then you were at base in Atlanta, so you're around the Cubs and stuff up there for a little bit. Thought process on this guy and
when they signed Suzuki, honestly, it made a lot of sense because the reports coming out of him was that like he was a very down to earth guy, very nice guy, and a guy who would be a perfect fit in the locker room. David Ross is building a true culture out there in Chicago with the Cubs. And he's just been like, I mean, he's honestly their headliner at this point. You know, of course, they also have Contreras, Ian Happ, all those guys who were around back in 2016, 2017. But he's, I think, going to be the headliner, the guy who puts asses in the seats, and he's delivered that so far. The stat that I actually found today, this stat's insane. As of yesterday, as of Monday, I should say, as of Monday, he has been throwing 29 pitches, and so by the way, this is not including the 2 homers he had today. 29 pitches outside the strike zone. He took 28 of those 29 pitches. The only one he did not take was an RBI single he scored against Brandon Woodruff. That is absolutely absurd. I've never in my life known a guy coming into the MLB his first year to be that good at taking taking balls out of the zone, but then automatically knowing, hey, I can get this one in the outfield. I can score a run here. It's unbelievable. I am excited to see where he goes this season and how fast he grows in Chicago. The fans already love him. I mean, he's become a big culture guy. I mean, you see all the Sia posts on Twitter now. John Shambi is going to have an absolute a blast calling his home runs this year. I can't wait to hear all of his calls. But he's terrific, and I think he can make a splash. He'll make a splash in the Rookie of the Year race. I still don't think he wins. I still think Abrams is gonna Abrams or Cruz, one of those two, is gonna come out of the gate hot, and over time build a better case. But if Suzuki wins, would not be surprised at all.
I mean, as of right now, he within the 3 games that they've logged because of this game, he went 2 for 4 today, 2 home runs. But basically, he's got 3 home runs in the season. Now he's got 3 home runs. He's got 8 RBIs. He was batting .375. He struck out 4 times. He's walked 4 times. I'm close to not saying he's going to ride it, but if he can, I think he can definitely win Rookie of the Year. He's proven it on the level. The other 2 were saying could at this point. That's where I'm at. All right. So I'm just going to go through some stuff for our weekend recap and talk about what happened this weekend. Few things. We had 2 bench clearings. We had the Rockies take 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. Yankees beat the Red Sox 2 out of 3 there. The only teams to win 3 games and lose 3 games was Baltimore and Tampa Bay, which was impressive. I think the Phillies offense is showing around. Great baseball, by the way. It happened in Miami and Giants. I thought that was crazy. The Padres pitching looked really good this season too. almost no hitters on back-to-back nights, how they were going. Texas and Toronto punched the lights out of each other, basically. Their
No pitching at all present whatsoever.
no pitching whatsoever. Just
They,
insane.
they played T-ball out there, for God's sake.
Yeah, just insane offenses. Yeah, just overall, I think just a fun weekend. I don't lean too much to it. What are some of your biggest takeaways from the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, this was your very prototypical opening weekend. You had things to be expected: Toronto and Texas, offensive juggernauts. Pitching not really present. I am a little concerned that Jose Barrios is getting off to such a slow start to the season. If that continues, Toronto is going to have a little bit of a problem because they really need him to deliver like he was able to do last year off the trade from Minnesota. Of course, the Yankees, Red Sox offense just falter there at the end. It happens. The Rockies and the Dodgers. Tell you what, the Dodgers, yes, I think they have some adjusting to do with Freddie Freeman being in that lineup now. Bellinger still just does not look right. I don't know what it is. How about Connor Joe? Connor Joe has been like the superhero for Colorado. You had Chris Bryan, had an error, I think on Sunday or Monday, gave up 2 runs, and then Connor Joe came to the rescue with like a home run in the 8th inning. It was crazy. And then, of course, the bench clearing incidents. Look, if you're a Brewers fan, you might want to mute this part. I don't know how you can hit a team more times than any other team has hit another team in baseball and consistently get away with it. And then the second someone fights back against it, they're the ones who get the suspension. David Ross suspended 1 game for that incident. Keegan Thompson suspended 3 games for hitting Andrew McCutchen in the ass. He hit him in the ass, whereas the Brewers hit Ian Happ in the knee, caused him to miss the next day's game. They hit Wilson Contreras, who then missed the next game. Cubs lost that game, by the way, by 1 run. So who knows what would have happened if Happ and Contreras had been there. Well, enough is enough. I mean, you're beating a team that you should be arguably 15 games better than this season. You're getting waxed 9-0 on the road at Wrigley Field, and you choose to stage a bean exhibition in the friendly confines. You're dumb. You're dumb as hell. Craig Counsell needs. You need to get your shit together. Tell your guys to stop plunking people, because and now they're getting ass blasted by the Orioles on the road. So there's justice for you.
Here's my thing. I'm all for hitting each other. I like old baseball. I like when somebody pisses you off, you beam them right in the chest, right in the rib cage with it.
I mean, it's one thing if you have this cycle of hitting multiple teams. Like the Padres couldn't stop hitting people last season, but even they never hit one team consecutively as much as the Brewers hit the Cubs.
And I think the Brewers hate the Cubs, and I think the Cubs hate the Brewers, and I think that's reasonable at this point. Now, here's the thing. So I listened to a podcast the other day. Couldn't think of it. I would shout it out if I knew it. But they're prioritizing in the minor leagues and stuff over control at this point, right? If you have the stuff, like their overall stuff, the great pitches, velocity, break, stuff like that, but not pinpoint control, they're prioritizing that over pinpoint control and mass stuff. So what's happening in baseball now is they're all throwing these 2-seamers and stuff, but they're throwing them inside and they're missing at this point. I think the Cubs' problem was they targeted the wrong guy. I mean, one, you hit Kutch, which is like one of the most beloved players in this game of baseball that's been around so long. So to beam him and then get responsible, I understand. It's always the second person to throw gets the damage, not the first guy to throw.
And
But
I just hate that so much.
Wilson
Like
Contreras has nothing to complain about because that man hogs the plate. If you're going to hog the plate the way he does, you're going to get some shots and just
it
deal with
doesn't
it.
matter. I mean, you see Anthony Rizzo hogging the plate all the time, and that man doesn't get hit as much.
Yeah, but there's not a ton of lefties that throw like straight at you like that
I
style.
mean,
So
but still, if you're hogging the
I'm
plate
just
either
saying, if you're
side,
going to crowd,
you should expect that.
if you're going to crowd, you're going to get hit at some point. You can't get too
But like the
offensive.
whole thing with stuff over control, like I get it. You want pitchers who have some nasty stuff, but if the last thing we
You
want
know,
is 99 different Ricky Bonds out there just blowing people's heads off.
you again, I come from the school of Joe Kelly's Fight Club, so let's see some fights, okay? Um, yeah, I'd say my biggest takeaway from the weekends is Buck Showalter is the right manager for the Mets. Overall,
He's gonna bring some
um,
good stability to that
he
clubhouse.
stood up for his players when they got hit. He gave them a thing. Their eighth inning blowout, the blowed lead at Monday against the Phillies. That's going to happen. That's not a misuse of the bullpen. That's just how it ended up happening. I think if the two injuries doesn't happen, I think because they lost a starter, didn't they? Taiwan Walker left early, and somebody else didn't happen.
Well, if Taiwan Walker doesn't leave a game early in a Major League Baseball season, that's an anomaly all its own. I mean, I
Yeah,
love Taiwan Walker.
Buck didn't
He
do
came
anything
up in
wrong.
Seattle. He was fantastic, but the guy just could not stay healthy, and he was shipped off to Arizona.
But Lindor getting hit in the face, that was terrifying
That
to
was
see.
brutal.
And Buck coming out and wanting to beat someone's ass, and the Washington manager wanted to go. It was funny. I thought that was really good. I think the two East divisions are going to be the funnest divisions in baseball to watch right now, with the Phillies, Mets, and Braves, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Yankees, and Rays. I think they're going to be really interesting. I don't know what's happening with the Rays because the as we record this right now, Oakland is tied. They're tied 7-7 against Oakland, and Oakland beat the brakes off of them last night. So it's kind of
I
weird
don't
what's
know
happening.
what's happening with Oakland. Are they good? Are they good or something? Like, what's
I
going
think they're
on?
just young players that just know that this is their chance to earn a spot, and they're playing their
I mean,
ass off.
I'll love to see it. If we get Moneyball 2.0, I'm all for it. But like,
Yeah. I guess my other takeaway is, the Dodgers will be there at the end. I do not nothing Connor Joe, congratulations. Same
yeah,
with that guy, Beer. All I know is his last name is Beer. He hit that walk off.
Seth Beer.
Seth Beer, they'll all be at the bottom of the division at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Dodgers will be at the top. It was just fun to see the Dodgers not start off 3-0. When you get an easy draw in their first matchup, you think, oh god, they're going to start, and when they actually are now down in the thing, that's beautiful to see.
It's really funny because what I've noticed is that April baseball and September baseball are eerily similar.
Right.
You have teams that have zero expectations playing their best baseball, their most fun, exciting baseball of the season, taking advantage of these teams that are supposed to be in contention, who maybe have either in September that they've taken their foot off the gas, or in April they haven't even put their foot on the gas pedal at all. So I honestly that's honestly my favorite kind of baseball is April and September baseball, where no one's set into complacency yet. Unexpected things arise day by day, and the craziest shit will just happen.
And my last thing I will touch on before, again, we don't need to do a long show on just a weekend, but my biggest takeaway overall, Texas, still garbage. Knew it was going to be garbage. You can pay for a pitcher that pitched in cores and two infielders, but at the end of the day, your team is still the team. They're going to hit a lot. They're going to slug a lot, but overall, that team is going to be the most frustrating team to watch in
It's gonna be a
baseball.
lot of 13-10 finishes.
Yeah, right now they're losing to the Rockies as we record this 3-1. So like, are the Rockies for real? Are they here to play? No. These are fun things. And I guess I was wrong, maybe. Angels lost 2 of 3, I think, to to the Astros. So maybe they're back, maybe they're not back. I don't know where we're going to be on this one, but me and Scully will battle that the whole time. Yeah, and looking forward to it. I know the Red Sox, we play Detroit this week, and then Tampa. I think we have Tampa coming up. I think we go to Tampa. I don't know. So maybe we stay in Minnesota. I think we go to.
All I know is that they're coming to Atlanta in mid-May, and I'm going to be front and center watching all that.
Oh, that's exciting. I'm highly jealous. I don't get to see them until August when they come to KC. And then I'll see them in Minnesota when they play the Twins. Yeah, we play Minnesota, but we play at home. So the Correa comes back to Fenway. That'll be interesting. Yeah. So check out our podcast. We are called over a wall. We'll say this real quick. We're called over the wall. We do talk about baseball because it's primary, but we're talking about other things. A special that will drop on Thursday. We're dropping this Wednesday. We're going to be, as you're watching this Wednesday, and then Thursday we're going to do an NBA preview. This man next to me is a basketball fiend. He loves a certain team. We'll talk about what it is. Basically, he'll be running the show, and I'll just give my feedback because I like it. I'm just not as obsessed with it. I like playoff baseball a lot. Playoff basketball a lot more than regular season because I honestly think the regular season is kind of mad at this point. I think they need to shorten the season to like 68 games, not 82, but like give it a little shorter time because like it means nothing because playoffs, different animals come out in the playoffs. But LeBron's out, so I'm really excited about that. But yeah, we'll talk about that on our next episode. Join our Twitter, like and subscribe our when these posts, and we'll be bringing more to it. We also might bring some guests on from time to time. I talked to my buddy Lucas Schilbach. He sent his predictions, so we might get him on the show to talk about what his season prediction. He did lock it in before opening day, so nothing's changed. But yeah, so tune in next time. We'll be back next week, basically talking about what happened in the last week of baseball season and new news that happens. Maybe more trades or maybe more fights. We'll see. But join us next time for another great episode.